This video will demonstrate how to create your manufacturing files and your manufacturing documentation for design using blind and buried vias from within the Allegro PCB editor. There are several steps you must perform to successfully use blind and buried vias both before and during the actual design process. These steps are as follows. First, you must create a pad stack that represents either the seed via or an actual via. These two different pad stack types are explained in the video Creating a Blind Buried Via using the Allegro Pad Stack editor. Second, if using a seed via, you must create the blind buried via in your design based upon the seed via. Third, you must include all of your blind buried vias in the appropriate physical constraint set. Fourth, route your design. Fifth and last, you create the required manufacturing files and documentation to include the blind buried vias. This video will cover step 5, create your manufacturing files and documentation. So I have a design routed here. I've used blind and buried vias, but let's check a few. If I hover over that one, you can see that uses the via L1-L2. So that's a blind via going from my top layer to the first internal. That's VCC, so it's using a through-hole via called via. Here we can see one called int2-int5. That is a buried via going from the internal 2 to the internal 5. So we can see our design here uses multiple via types. Let's generate our manufacturing files to see what happens. So first, let's do the NC legend. Manufacturer NC drill legend. Standard routine. I'm going to use the standard setup. Say OK. It attaches the drill chart to my cursor. I place it down. If you notice, first thing down in the output area, it says it created 4 different legends for all the different layer pairs that were available. My through hole is 1 to 6. I have a 5 to 6 that goes from the next to the last layer to the bottom. I have a 1-2 that goes from the top layer to the first internal. And then I have basically my core via, which goes from the internal 2 to the internal 5. Let's zoom in on our drill legend. Looks a little bit of a mess here, but let's just real quickly go into our manufacturing class. Notice these are the subclasses here that were documented in our output area. We'll just walk through one at a time. So there's 1-2. So that went from top to internal 2. There's all of my through-hole vias and all my through-hole pins and non-plated holes and things like that. That's my core vias, and that's my blind from the next last to the last layer. So you can see I have different NC legends. Let me real quickly go back in here for a second. And again, these work like your standard legends. So I can move these around as long as I have groups turned on. So I can move this one and I can move it up a little bit. And again, that won't affect anything else because each legend is its own group. So if I go back in and just turn on like 1 through 6, let's say, you can see now that they are separate. So each drill legend is its own entity designated by a group. Let's run the NC drill next. Use a standard manufacturer NC drill routine. Standard parameters, it'll take care of doing anything automatically. I'll hit the drill button. It's going to go ahead and generate drill files supporting this design. If I go into my view log, we can scroll down here a little bit. You can notice now that basically it created drill files for each individual layer pair it needed to. So it did a 2-5 for int2 to int5. It did a 5 to 6 for int5 to bottom. It did a 1 through 6 through our through-hole vias and all the other drills, and a 1 to 2 for our top to int2. This concludes the video that demonstrated how to create your manufacturing files and your manufacturing documentation for design using blind and buried vias from within the Allegro PCB editor.